Would you believe me if I told you that this is the year that Washington State is going to go even further off the left cliff with their gender madness policies? Hey there, I'm Julie Barrett, and I'm the founder of Conservative Ladies of America and Conservative Ladies of Washington. And I'm going to tell you today about a few bills that Washington State Democrats have pre filed that will actually expand, if that's even possible, on their radical gender ideology policies in Washington's K 12 education system. It's not really a bill of the day. I'm going to do a little bit of a roundup, but I prefer to call this sort of a connecting the dots or putting the puzzle pieces together, if you will. So, yesterday, Senator Claire Wilson, I think she's the co-chair or the vice chair of the Senate Education Committee. She filed Senate Bill 5180, and this is to secure the rights of students to have a safe, civil, and respectful learning community. Well, that sounds good, right? Well, if you pop the hood on this bill, you will see that this bill is to expand on what they call gender inclusive schools policy in Washington. And I like to say that the gender inclusive school policies are exclusive of parents because what they do is they force the schools to keep the students' information about gender identity or expression, sexual identity or expression a secret from parents. These are very bad and dangerous policies. And these impacted my youngest child a couple years ago, and we actually pulled her out of Washington's public schools as a result. They were actually calling my daughter by a boy's name and boy pronouns, and she disclosed it to me, and her teacher actually also slipped and called her by the boy name, and I actually knew about it, and so I was able to catch her in the act. This happens all the time, every day, to children across the state of Washington. It is a very dangerous place for you to send your children. So if you are going to send your children into these indoctrination centers, which I do not recommend, you need to be armed with the facts. And if you do have kids in the public schools, I would strongly encourage you to do everything in your power to get your kids out, homeschool, find a way, make a way, do it on the evenings and weekends, but get them out of these indoctrination centers. And really, if you can, get them out of Washington State because Washington is not safe for children. So let's look at this Senate Bill 5180. So I just want to show you how I get here. So I go to leg.wa.gov. On their homepage, I click on more ways to find bills. And this takes me to where I can scroll down and I see the pre-filed bills. Now, 5180 is way down the list, so I'm going to have to scroll quite a ways to get to the bill that I want. And here we are on the bill's homepage. And if you scroll down, you can see a hyperlink for original bill. And if you click on that, it's going to bring up a PDF for you. Now, as we read this PDF, this is an act relating to securing the rights of students to have safe, civil, and respectful learning community that is free of discrimination by ensuring all schools adopt and enforce gender inclusive protections, policies, and procedures. So, what they're going to do in this bill, if you look at right beyond that, it says they're amending several different RCWs. So, RCW 28A.642.080 is the RCW that we're going to focus on today. RCW stands for Revised Code of Washington. The revised code of Washington for 28A 642.080 is the gender inclusive schools policy. Now, in 2018, the legislature passed Senate Bill 5689, which was a transgender bullying policy that actually was the gender inclusive schools policy. And you would think that it passed along party lines, but it did not. In fact, 5 Republicans in the House and 2 Republicans in the Senate voted to pass this bill, including, and this is notable, including the House Minority Leader, Drew Stokesbury, voted to pass this bill. So while it's easy to look at the Democrats who are coming up with these policies, the Republicans aren't exactly holding the line. And citizens need to know that. You need to know the battlefield, and you need to know that some of the guys that are wearing your jersey are actually scoring points for the other team. Now, they might say, well, if I had voted differently, it wouldn't have changed the outcome. That may be the case. But why do you need to vote for it? It didn't help. There's nothing to gain by Republicans voting for these bad policies. And it leads you to wonder if the Republican leadership is voting for these kinds of policies when they do not have a majority. If the power shifted, what would be any different? What would they do differently? If they support these policies when they're not in power, why wouldn't they support them if they had a majority? So that's something that I believe citizens need to know. And the Republicans don't like that I share this information, but that's literally their only job is to vote. Okay, it's not their only job, but it's the biggest part of their job is to pass or not pass policies. And they're voting to pass really bad policies that are very harmful to Washington state children, and quite frankly, are the reasons that I no longer live in Washington state. So we have Senate Bill 5180, and we're looking at RCW 28A.642.080. Now, I told you I wanted to connect some dots for you. So let's go over to our Legislative Action Center at conservativeladiesofwa.com. We're going to pull up the Legislative Action Center. And then if you scroll down to keyword, you can put in that RCW and search up any bills that mention RCW 28A.642. So I'm just going to type in 28A.642 and I get 6 different bills. Now, as I was reading this bill earlier, I wondered if it might have any connection to a bill that I did a bill of the day video on last week, which is Senate Bill 5123, which adds to the list of definitions of protected classes of students in K-12 education. And sure enough, it does. It's on our list here. Let's go through each of these bills. So Senate Bill 5123 is about expanding protections for certain students to promote inclusivity in schools. Sounds nice, right? It always sounds nice. This extends the anti-discrimination protections in Washington's public schools to include additional categories: ethnicity, gender expression, gender identity, homelessness, immigration status, and neurodivergence. So interesting that they have thrown homelessness and immigration status into the mix here. And I think there's going to be a whole lot of funding stuff around these two things. So there's new definitions that they're putting into RCW 28A.642 for all of these different classes. So that's Senate Bill 5123. Moving on. Senate Bill 5180 as it pertains to RCW 28A.642 to enforce gender inclusive policies in schools. This is going to expand on the current policy. It puts in more structured approach to the policy implementation, communication, and enforcement. So there's a lot of details on this bill. I could do a bill of the day just on Senate Bill 5180, and I may do that. So I'm going to link up all of the details on each of these bills below so that you can go check those out for yourself. But I specifically for this video just want to address this RCW. So that's Senate Bill 5180, expanding on the gender inclusive schools. Senate Bill 5181 amends Initiative 2081. Now, that may ring a bell for you. Initiative 2081 was the Parents' Bill of Rights initiative that Let's Go Washington had a package of initiatives that they got enough signatures to put them to the legislature. The legislature could either pass them or put them on the ballot for a vote of the people. The legislature passed 2081 during the 2024 legislative session. And in doing so, instead of putting it on the ballot, it allows them to come back in this session and repeal the pieces of it that they don't like, which they were very clear that they would do in their floor speeches when the Democrats voted for it. And if you were like, why are Democrats voting for this? Well, they're voting for it because they want to come back in 2025 and take out the parts of it that they don't like or that don't align with the current existing laws as it pertains to protecting so-called transgender students. So Senate Bill 5181 amends the Parents' Bill of Rights, Initiative 2081, and strikes out all those pieces that the Democrats didn't like. And I haven't even yet had time to go through it in detail, but I will do that. In the meantime, I've got links to the bill text so you can go read it for yourself to see which parts that they have struck out. But as it pertains to the RCW 28A 642, the way 2081 currently reads is to receive assurance their child's public school will not discriminate against their child based upon the sincerely held religious beliefs of the child's family in accordance with the chapter. This updates it and says and strikes the religious belief and updates on the basis of sex, race, creed, religion, color, national origin, all of that to bring it in alignment with the existing RCW. So that piece of 2081 as it pertains to the RCW isn't so big, but you definitely do want to go and read this bill if you're concerned about the Parents' Bill of Rights. All right, moving along to Senate Bill 5166 and House Bill 1197. These are companion bills. So what that means is they're the exact same bill, one in the Senate, one in the House, and only one of these bills will be advanced and pass into law. So this is the budget. This is the operating budget for the state of Washington. And what I did was I pulled up the bill, I pulled up the PDF, and then I did a search for RCW 28A.642. And what I found is that as it pertains to the RCW, $1.5 million of the general fund state appropriation for fiscal year 2025 is provided solely for the Office of Superintendent of Public Instruction, that's OSPI, to conduct a one-time compliance review of every school district in Washington state between July 2024 and July 2025 related to compliance with state non-discrimination laws. So basically what they're going to do is they're going to make sure that all of the schools are in compliance with the gender inclusive schools policies. So this is really, I talk about how legislation is like a web. And when I first started going down the rabbit hole, this is what I discovered was that it wasn't just one bill that stood alone by itself. It was somehow connected to all these other bills. And so when I was looking at Senate Bill 5180 this morning, and I realized it was connected to these other things, I wanted to show you how this web sort of works and just kind of my process when I'm working through a bill and trying to figure out what's going on here, how I do that, how my research process goes. And if you like to geek out on legislation or you're just concerned enough and you're fired up enough, which is how I got here. I didn't exactly like doing this, but I got really upset after what happened with my family and I wanted to know what was going on. And now I'm passionate about telling other people so that you can protect your children. You can make decisions for your family. So I've got a full Substack that lays all of this out. If you prefer to see it in writing, I've got that linked up below. If you are not already subscribed to our Substack, that is the best way to get our calls to action and our breaking alerts. Also, make sure that you are subscribed to our YouTube channel and turn those notifications on because once session gets started, a lot of our videos will have time-sensitive content in them. Make sure that you're subscribed and please do share this information far and wide. It's really important that parents are educated and understand what's going on so that they can do what they need to do to protect their children and to protect their families. Thanks for watching, and I look forward to seeing you again next time.